Well, are the other ones going to give me the same amount of trouble? Yep. Okay, I'm grabbing onto the threads. Alright, so here's what's going on. I'm going to need to take these exhaust manifolds off anyway, so I'm going to have to deal with these bolts either now or later. And I'm electing to deal with them now because I'm going to have to drill the head off and then drill through the body of the bolts. And that's going to be much easier when it's actually held stationary on the engine. Plus it's not that hard to get to right here. So I'm going to do that right now. I got one, two more to go. Alright, well, this other one I had to sort of rip the cover because, I mean, the drilling was not going so well. My drill bits were dull and cheap, so I should be able to just rip this cover off and I'll deal with it later. It's steel, maybe I can weld something on. But right now I'm going to take off this oxygen sensor with the 22mm. There we go. Thread this back in so I don't need to keep track of it. Okay, I'm 0 for 1 with this exhaust manifold. Let's see if it'll go 0 and 2. Yeah! Evening up the playing field. There we go. Alright, we got two 10s here holding the EGR valve on. Just leave it off to the side. Okay, let's take the head bolts off. Okay, breaker bar. Well, I've done it. Seems like two head bolts have rounded off. So I have to figure this out. So I've managed to strip out two head bolts. But I got a 6-point thick walled socket and it seems to be getting on there pretty good without slipping off. The reason why I think it rounded off is because I was using a 12-point cheap Walmart socket. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna torque all the other bolts to about 50 foot-pounds to take some stress off these bolts and then take them off. Doesn't look like it. Let's try the breaker bar. Got it. Yep. Let's try the other one. Man, it just goes to show you, you need to use the right tool, especially sockets. Let's get the rest of these out. Alright, all the bolts are out. The head gasket out. Okay, next we're going to remove the power steering pump because it's attached to the rear timing cover. We need to take that off. So if you reach through the pulley, there are holes that let you reach bolts in the back. That's usually how power steering pumps are removed. Just go around and get all the bolts. Gotta move it to the side. Just enough to get these bolts off for the bracket. Alright, now we're going to start removing the rear timing cover bolts on the right side. These are 13s. Alright, now it looks like we have 3 15s holding this on. Yeah. Should be able to get it the rest of the way now. Alright, I believe these 2 bolts are still holding it on. There seems to be two bolts behind this bracket I'm going to take out next. Sorry, it's kind of hard to get you guys in there. Well, it looks like it was only the one. There we go. Alright, so we need to move this wiring harness out of the way more. So let's disconnect. The only thing holding it on is this main computer wiring harness. There we go. There we go. Now we should be able to move this out of the way a little bit more. Oh, we have more electrical connectors. Alright, so it looks like we're connected right here. There's a ground and another ground right here. First ground here is a 10. So I removed everything. Now I'm just going to thread it back in so I don't have to keep track of it. Okay, now we have the 15. It's going to be real hard for you guys to see. Taking everything out. I'm going to thread it back in so I don't have to keep track of it. Alright, can we move this guy now? Finally. I'm taking the other exhaust manifold shield off. One bolt broke, which made things really easy. The second bolt actually came out whole, which I'm really surprised about. Let's see, can I get in here? Just barely. Hey, it came loose. There we go. Another full bolt. You want to know an easy way to get a bolt out of a socket? There you go. Okay, we're going to snake this 22 underneath here. Knock that O2 sensor loose. We'll thread this back in after we take the manifold off. This is intact. Nice. Okay, we're going to take this bracket off. There are two 15s holding it on. So I can loosen that. And I can loosen the other 15. Okay, now we have these exhaust manifold bolts to take off. There we go, exhaust manifold separated. Okay, next we have the valve cover. Bunch of 10s. Pry this off. There we go. Okay, now we're ready to remove these head bolts. Let's hope we don't have another mishap like last time. Head gasket. Alright, both heads are off. Let me clean this up and we'll put the new ones on. Alright, now we're ready to put those junkyard heads on. I just cleaned up the surface. I just used you know, some solvent and a rag. You gotta be kind of careful with aluminum. Don't use any razor blades or anything because you're gonna ruin the surface, and that's gonna be a bad day. And one thing you should also do is blow compressed air into the holes where the head bolts thread into. You don't want any fluid or anything getting in there because, say coolant gets in there, you can actually crack the block if you tighten it with any sort of liquid or something in there. Plus it gets rid of all the particulates. Okay, now we can put the new head gasket on. On the dowel pins. Yeah. Alright, let's put this head on. Okay, now I'm just going to thread all the bolts by hand, make sure they're going in smooth. Also make sure that nothing is pinched between the head and the block. One thing I forgot is, before you install these, lubricate them with some sort of oil. This is transmission fluid, but any engine oil will do. But not too much, you don't need a lot. Alright, so I've threaded down all the bolts by hand, and next we need to tighten it in the specified sequence in the factory service manual given by this diagram. Alright, so now we're going to tighten all the bolts in sequence. First we're going to do them all to 45 foot-pounds. Then we're going to do it again to 65 foot-pounds, and then again to 65 foot-pounds to make sure. And then we're going to rotate them all 90 degrees. First I'm going to snug them all, and then I'll do the final torquing. Okay, I've snugged them all. Now I'm going to tighten them. Okay, now we're going to do them all again, but this time to 65 foot-pounds. Okay, now we're going to do them all again to 65 foot-pounds, just to be sure. Alright, now we're going to use this torque angle meter to turn it an extra 90 degrees. I made a video on how to do this, so you can watch that for more detail. Alright, next I'm going to put this exhaust manifold on. Alright, we're going to tighten the bolts from the middle out to 200 inch-pounds. First I'm going to get them snug. Alright, they're all snugged down, and I snugged them from the inside out as well. So torquing 200 foot-pounds. Or 200 inch-pounds, sorry. It's a big difference. Okay, I went ahead and put the exhaust shield back on and tightened the O2 sensor. I had to weld the exhaust shield in the back because it sort of ripped the steel when I was taking it out. You might be able to see it, but it's not important.